Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Futures Club podcast, where we come to chill and get our minds right. I am Judith Daniel, your host and owner of Juju Star Productions LLC, where we have an array of products designed to help and encourage and uplift and push you forward in life. If you want to know more, go ahead and click that link. But for now, sit back and enjoy the show. How do you do, all? It has just been such a good morning. You know, when you just have those mornings that are just, I don't know. I'm super excited. I'm super excited that I got my upper register back. Now, I am in no ways a professional singer by any means of the word profession, right? I'm by myself or in the shower. And that's how we get down, right? But I've noticed that I could not go past a certain octave, and now I can. So it's just a great morning. Okay, had to get that stretch out the way. All right, so today, you know, because we always talk about, or you hear people say, you need to cut this out of your life if it's not healthy. You need to stop this if it's not benefiting you. You need to take your hand out of this if it's only a one-way street and you're doing all the giving and not getting anything in return. So today, if we're taking so much away, because you have to have something to replace whatever you're taking away. Otherwise, it seems like you're left unsatisfied, right? Like there's a void, something's missing. So, instead of today being a stop this or that, I'm just going to show you what a socially healthy environment could look like, possibly, depending on your preferences, right? But what it should entail, nonetheless. And we're going to get right to it. I'm going to get you guys out of here. I know I can be long-winded. Thank you guys for sticking around as long as you do. And I hope you like the content. And I'm still trying to work out exactly what I want my schedule to be. Because what I'm doing is anticipating the Sundays from 6 to 7:30 in July when we start doing the live. And you know, my other schedule, because I don't want anything overlapping. I don't want to feel exhausted. I want this to be a smooth journey, right? So I don't know if I want to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast, if I want to do a Monday through Thursday podcast, or something to that effect. I don't want to just do one a week because I get inspired more than just once a week. And so when I get inspired, I want to take that in, analyze it, put it together in a way that I can regurgitate it to you and that you can understand and, you know, accept it if it's something you want to accept, but to put it in a perspective that is attainable. So that is what I'm doing behind the scenes. I was trying out the different times because at first I was like, well, let me just throw everything out and have it out by noon. And then I was like, well, does it do better during this time or does it do better maybe in this time? I don't want to really put it out so far in the evening, but maybe have it to where you know it's there. Okay, a new version is out. Let us pick it up from here. And then we, you know, put it in our watch later or, you know, something like that. But at least you have it at your disposal and you can decide when it's better for you to listen. The one thing that people are saying is, how come you don't put your face on it? Like it's just a voice. Well, how is my face going to help you? It ain't. So it don't matter if I show my face or not. That's not the point. The point is, are my words helping you? So that's what we're focusing on. If you want to see my face, go to my social media, go to my Instagram, go to my Facebook, go to my fan base, go to my blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, it's not how I look, but what I say that I put value on. So there we go with that. All right. So a socially healthy environment. And there's many factors, right? So, it's all going to come down to, is it promoting a positive interaction? Is there well-being? Is there a sense of belonging? And it's going to depend on the situation. So it's up to you to decide. You know what I mean? Whenever I give you something, it's always for you to take and mold and cultivate into your liking. It's just ideas that I'm putting out there that maybe you haven't ran across before. Still make sure you're tweaking this, right? And you're making it fit with you and not you trying to fit into something that I'm saying, right? So here we go. Something that would be socially positive is if it is inclusive and diverse. Okay, so a socially healthy environment embraces diversity and fosters inclusivity, ensuring that everybody feels valued and respected, regardless of their background, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or abilities, right? It has stronger social connections. So people in a socially healthy environment have opportunities to develop and maintain meaningful relationships. These connections may be facilitated through like sharing activities, open communication channels, and spaces that encourage interaction, right? So it's kind of like what we're doing here. I want to keep this as a socially healthy environment where all are welcome. I don't want to just have only topics for these kind of people, or only topics for this type of person, or only topics for female, or only topics for male. It's like, no, everybody's welcome. And because everybody comes with their own topics in mind, with their own perspective, with their own everything, I want it to be a welcoming floor for that. So even the things that I guess normally it would be socially unacceptable to talk about, or it would be like, well, we don't touch on that because that type of person or that gender or that specific group of blah, 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 right? All these compartmentalized people when we're all just people. So if somebody's bringing a topic we don't know about, guess who's the expert in the room? That person that's bringing that topic. So in order for us to grow and understand, we might want to learn to listen too, because then we're more insightful. Then when we open our mouth about stuff that we're just not primarily accustomed to, we'll understand how to speak that dialogue in a healthy way. Without maybe putting someone down, because maybe there's a name that is just outrageous in that community, but we as outsiders don't really know that, oh, we shouldn't say that name because that looks derogatory towards someone else. It's just simple things that we may not know. And our language is always changing by generation. So, one thing that in the 20s it meant this, in the 2020s it could mean this. So, it's like, it's always good to have it diverse, who you're staying abreast with, so that you understand what they're saying and what's being talked about. Not so much as just watching the news and understanding the politics of what's going on, but also just the regular day-to-day things. So, supportive relationships. There's a culture of support and empathy where individuals feel comfortable seeking help and providing assistance when needed. Kind of like what I just said, where we're helping each other, right? Even if we're on the listening end of it, we're like, oh, now I can understand better, right? Where people are kind, compassionate, and willing to lend that hand to others. So the one thing that I absolutely love about the Futures Club is that we are all coming from a different perspective. So we all have this outlook on life that might be completely different than the person we're next to, or sitting next to, or on the Zoom with, next to. And it's like, wow, I never would have thought about something like that. I love having my mind expanded. I love when other people speak about things that I don't know about, but it's like, oh, now I'm interested. Now I'm intrigued and I want to know more. And I'm so glad you're here to be able to give me more. And on the opposite end of that, being open to discuss, being open to let someone else in with an understanding, and taking the time to actually appreciate the moment and being able to transfer that information where someone else can receive it. So open communication. It encourages respectful communication. People feel safe expressing their thoughts and their opinions and emotions. And there is a willingness, like I said before, to listen and consider different perspectives, trust and mutual respect. So that kind of forms the foundation where individuals can trust one another to say, okay, I am saying this in confidence. And I want to maybe keep it right here for now while I'm still trying to understand everything that's going on. And we respect that. And we don't go, hey, da 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 da, or if we're telling the stories, you might say, I was in a conversation with someone today and this was the topic and I really enjoyed, or I thought this was different because I had never blah, blah, blah. But you omit the names to make it that personal. But it's okay to tell those stories when it's a different perspective and you were just excited about it. Normally when I give stories or I say things, I'll say I was speaking with a client today. Or I was, we were having a dialogue and my client stated, da da da, you know what I'm saying? But to omit your name, omit any identifying things that might say, oh, that's who they were talking to. It doesn't matter who I was talking to, right? When I'm telling the story secondhand, it's the concept of the story. So make sure, to keep it respectful. If you're telling what's going on, you're omitting who said what. And, to keep that person's feelings intact or to not, maybe they made an absolute great point, but still, if it's supposed to be a safe environment, let's keep each other safe by leaving out names or maybe taking pictures or doing recordings when that's not what's supposed to be going on. I teach my children and I stand by walking by integrity, having that when people are watching and when people are not watching, just as a foundation for me to always kind of be on point and forthcoming with, what I'm doing. So I want to always make sure that I'm leading with integrity and love, because how would I want to be treated on the other end of something like that? So, and it helps, others to have confidence in their decisions and their intentions when we treat someone else with respect, even if we don't understand everything that they're saying just yet. Collaboration and cooperation. So that is highly encouraged and teamwork is valued. Now, even though we come from this different walk of life, we're doing all these different things. When we come together in the Futures Club Live, it's a mastermind alliance, meaning we all have the outcome and it's to grow, to reveal our power to ourselves and reintroduce ourselves to ourselves. So we are making the best decisions for us that we want to make and not being pressured by an outside external voice. Okay. Now, all good advice is to be taken into consideration. But at the end of the day, you have to cultivate that to your needs. You know what I mean? Okay. So what else? Oh, positive social norms. So promoting kindness, fairness, again, with integrity. And it's also a place where bullying, discrimination, and negative behaviors are actively discouraged and addressed. I know in the last podcast, we talked about why people don't speak up. And sometimes it's just because, that social setting and, other people saw it happen to me. So why in the world would I say something else? Because I already know what their response is going to be. You know what I mean? So it's like making sure that we actively say, no, 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 no. We're not going to do that here. You know, all opinions are welcome. But when it gets to a point of condescending or to belittling someone, we don't need that here because we're all trying to learn, we're all trying to grow, and we're all putting our best foot forward. And sometimes what we have to show up with is misinformation. And I never want anyone to feel bad about not knowing something because you don't know what you don't know. You know, and it's no one's fault because guess what? We're in an environment that now you can know and you can properly understand. You see what I'm saying? So there's never a reason to put someone down if they have the right answer, if they have the wrong answer, if they have an answer that's different from yours. So I like to keep that spirit of things. And even if you're coming into it and you are doing those things or you're belittling people or you're, that's just your nature of things because of maybe, excuse me, how you've had to do things thus far. We want to go in there with the same love towards you too. Why? Because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. And if they've never been told, hey, you shouldn't really do that. And here's why. You know what I mean? And what that shows us when you do that is this. So, first of all, am I correct in my assumption? And if not, why do you do that? Because I love to get to the bottom of things. Because if we never say the real answer, there will never be a real solution. And my assumptions could be completely wrong. But it's due to my perspective and the things that I've dealt with and the things that I've gone through that cultivated my perspective. And guess what? That's not the only perspective that's out there. There are 9,000 ways to skin a cat. I don't know if your generation has heard that saying before, but mine did. You know? According to a lot of different variations of that. I'm not going to go into full detail on my end, but, there's also 1,000 ways to get your speed, right? But it only takes one to make my point stick. You feel me? So, that saying can be, used for different situations. But, at the same time, that's how it is. There's a million perspectives out there. And then when you throw in religious factors or you throw in culture factors or you throw in language barriers and interpretation, like there's just so many ways. So we can't be so closed-minded in saying that our way is the only way and the right way because not even close. Okay? So I also want to promote a sense of belonging. And again, these are what the healthy social environments should look like across the board. There are more, but these are what I'm trying to promote myself. So I wanted to pass those along. And if they make sense, they make sense. And if they don't, they don't, right? I'm not going to be mad that your opinion is different from mine. Okay, so a sense of belonging. So connection to the community. And when I say community, I mean our group, our situation, just so that everyone knows that their voice is valuable. Everyone knows that we absolutely love you being here. And I promote activity. I promote participation. So, and I want you to be, if you have to, be loud and wrong, right? But be able to take an understanding or a criticism too of, well, you could be right, but here's what I was thinking, and we kind of reroute it that way because you never know if someone is wrong because maybe there was a particular situation that they had to go through that was actual in their real life, and this is how it was handled, and this was the outcome. So, I never want to make the assumption that I know all about you and everything that you got going on and everything that you've been through, because that is definitely not the case. I barely know all my stuff that I've been through, right? So how am I going to sit there and say I know all of yours? No, I'll let you speak for yourself. Why? Because the horse's mouth is here, right? So, that always boggles my mind when people say, well, I heard that this and this and that. But the person is right here telling you what it is. And we just overlook that, and we'd rather go off of he say, she say than to actually take it out of the horse's mouth and what they meant when they said such and such, right? So I don't know, it boggles my mind, y'all, but I'm a little nerdy little girl, and stuff that don't make sense just don't make sense. So I'm like, all right, cool. Moving on. Okay. So, I want you to know that I appreciate you being here, that I find it an honor that you would choose to invest in your well-being, because a lot of people don't, and then their options are limited. They don't have that expanded view of a perspective. They have the limited view. And, if you have a more expanded view, you can see a whole lot more than if you just had that limited, I was going to say monotone, but that limited focused view where nothing else is a possibility. You can do a whole lot more when you know a whole lot more. So access to resources and opportunities. So it ensures equitable access to resources and opportunities and services for all its members. So there's not going to be one thing that I'm doing for someone that I'm not doing for someone else in that group setting. Now, in our individual, in my life coaching sessions, in my, things that we are just one-on-one with, that's going to be cultivated to you specifically. You know what I mean? But in the group setting, it's like, no, if this is available for one, it's available for all. And I have a very exciting gift once you complete the course. And I've already made up in my mind to do this for reasons that I'm not going to speak of right now because it would give it away, what the gift is. So I can't speak on it, y'all, but there is something incredible if you choose to start this journey and complete this journey with me. And again, it's only a 52-week course. We meet one time a week for 1.5 hours. And that's it. And in that time, you're going to start to grow. You're going to start to be productive. You're going to start to understand and see maybe a scope of options that you didn't have before. Okay. So, and I'm trying to get through this fast because I know I talk a lot. All I do is work and research and work and then research and execute and stuff. So I got the time for this. And that 1.5 hour, I want to make the best 1.5 hours that I can. So I'm trying to do my best, y'all, and give the greatest service in the world when it comes to getting understanding on a certain topic in order to make you who you really wanted to be, or give you the opportunity and the keys to unlock your future into what you want it to be. Because you still have to put in the work of receiving. You still have to put in the work of, okay, I'm going to take that into consideration. You still have to put in the work of, oh, that's a possibility, huh? And ask the questions. See, so even though we're putting in the work, it's not hard. It's nothing that will be overwhelming. But you still have to do your part, right? And it doesn't always have to be a struggle. And guess what? You're growing every time you ask a question because it's an answer you didn't have before. So there are going to be educational resources available. And so I created this group on Facebook just so we can have like our virtual office. So that's where we'll have the meeting updates. So that's where we will have new information that I need to bring to the table that I need to get to you. And that's where I will put all of the documents that you can download either for our class or our sessions, or, okay, this is helpful information that you may want to, but you'll have access to it. So that's where everything will go. I think it's called Futures Club 101. And if you see it, the backdrop on the header, I think it says Juju Star Productions LLC. And it's kind of a yellowy-ish thingy with a couple flowers. But if you see that, that's it. And you can go ahead and you will have to it's a private group. So it's only for us that are, either you're a podcast member, fan, I don't know what to call it, but you listen to the podcast and you kind of want to know some information to get involved. We will not be doing classes and sessions on there. So you actually have to take the class to get all of the information. But to those that would like to, we can join that Futures Club group. But I still want it to be a safe space, and that's why I made it private. So yes, access to resources and opportunities, because this is a double-edged sword. So I give to you, and in return, I get that knowledge of your perspective. So then I can add that to my repertoire, and I can add that to my catalog of things to pull from when I need to make maybe a different statement, or when I need to go into detail about something. Then I'll have actual examples to give instead of speaking from an aloof perspective of something that maybe I'm not an expert on, but I would like to know more information about, so that I can actually give that out more too. And we celebrate the achievements. So successes, accomplishments, they're celebrated in a healthy environment. And they're like, yay, we're happy for you. Oh my goodness, that, you overcame that. That wasn't easy, probably. And depending on how you had to go about getting that achievement, it's honorable. And no matter how small the victory, a victory is still a victory. And I am proud of you guys, even initially, like I said, for you taking the time to invest in yourself. Amazing, right? So we acknowledge that. I want you to feel appreciated. And I foster life. I'm pro. Yes, you can. You know what I mean? Like of course you have it within you to do. There's no reason for you to doubt yourself. You know what I mean? And then when you take that step and you're like, oh my goodness, I did it. And I'm like, yeah, see, I told you. I told you. But it's a happy outcome, because I live for your progress, right? My thing in life, my passion, my purpose, my why I'm alive still, is to be an encourager to you, so that you understand that you have wings. I can show you how to use them, and you can fly. That's what I'm here for. So building that positive atmosphere of encouragement and motivation is my job. And I need you to take. I need you to receive. I need you to actually have a better perspective than when you first arrived. So by the time we're done with that 50-second session, you are going to be a whole new person. If you put in the work. But I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to put in the work. So that was my take on what a socially healthy environment should be characterized by. All those things, So when you're cutting those people out because they're not really stepping up to the plate and doing what you need them to do according to what you would like, here's what you can replace it with when you're building that tribe. When you're looking for that camaraderie and everybody in like-minded accord, So I hope this helps. If there's anything you want to add, go ahead and let me know. These alarms. And then if there's any comments, anything, go ahead and put that down below. And yes, it's going to be an exciting rest of the year. And if anybody needs to jump on board and we need to move a little bit quicker for you, and you're ready for that one-on-one type of session, we can definitely get started with that. Go to futuresclub101.com. You can see all the different products that I have available and the services, and then let me know what you need. Now, that 90-day free consultation has no expiry date. So it's not like I have to get this right now. No, you don't, but it might be better to. It might be better to, because this world be worlding. And if you're off track right now, the faster you get back on track, the better. So let me know what you need. Make sure you're leaving a comment. Make sure you're liking if you like. I guess that does stuff with the algorithm. I hear other people say it, so I've said it. So, so if that's what it does, or if you know, like if you leave a comment or something that it does better or makes it better, and you can also share these with someone that, you know what, maybe they need to hear it too. Because you never know what someone is going through. And like I tell people all the time, getting information in the right hands could actually save someone's life. So if you run across this, you like it, and you're like, you know what, I might want to share this with somebody, go ahead and share it. You never know the outcomes. And you never know that story 10 years later of, you know, I had a change in my life because you shared this and I watched it and blah, blah, blah. And the rest is history. But see, it took you doing your part and also them doing their part to receive. That's how things get made. That's how things get changed. Everybody has to do their part. So let me know what you need. You want to get started? Let's go. And, you know, if you have any questions, let me know that too. I'm here. All right, everybody. Deuces. As always, thank you for joining us again for another episode. We hope you enjoyed yourself, but the best way to know is if you leave a comment or you send me a message and you actually let me know. If you have any questions, I would love to be able to answer those on the next episode, so go ahead and leave me that as well. But until next time, just know you are worth it to be wherever you want to be.